Welcome to Drams and Dragons. My name is Gus Berger, and with me tonight is my co-host Dustin Van Horn. Um,
Hi, Gus.
you're giving me like a weird, like expectant look.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you're
I
like
mean, do I jump
expecting,
in and
like,
say, "Hey,
oh, okay, all right.
I don't know, we're still working this out."
How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. I'm tired, Gus. I have a very long commute. I'm done with the East Coast. No offense if anyone here is from the East Coast, but I'm done with it.
Yeah, well, come on back to Bremerton or wherever, and just get back over to this coast.
Uh, yeah, I miss my West Coast. I miss my trees and good hiking trails. Lack of ticks. Um,
Yeah.
Drivers who aren't insane.
Well, we have those a little bit insane drivers. I mean,
Where I'm at, New England, something else, man. Tell you what. Other than that, I'm great, man. I'm really excited to be here. It's the type of day where you want to hang out with a friend at the end of it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
How
Looking
about
forward
you?
to it.
Yeah, yeah. How are you
Doing
doing?
doing pretty well, man. I
Cool.
went on a nice hike today, and yeah, looking forward to trying a whiskey and talking about a book.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be chatting about the second book in the Scholomance series by Naomi Novik. Well, the second book is The Last Graduate.
Well, I can jump in. So yeah, it's the second book in the trilogy. I guess would it be easy to say this will be a spoiler episode? You know, you should probably read the first book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
just
going to be a spoiler episode. Read the first book. I mean, honestly, probably read the second book before listening to this episode,
yeah,
or at least, if we say spoiler alert, jump forward like 30 seconds, something
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
yeah. That
yeah,
that works. That'd be
yeah.
helpful. 'Cause, yeah, so we will have some spoilers.
But this is, after all, not just a show about nerdy, fantasy novels and stuff. It's also a show about whiskey.
Oh yeah,
So,
I forgot about the whiskey. Yeah. It's been that
uh,
kind of day, man. Like
it's all good, dude. Uh,
oh, and it's not just any whiskey. We got the Bowmore.
uh, Correction, Dustin. It
What?
is the Bowmore because
No.
after all, this is Scottish and they can't pronounce anything like it is spelled.
Ah, I mean, it's literally
Bowmore.
it's Bowmore, Bowmore.
Yeah. Well, it could also be Bowmore,
Ah,
but it's Scottish, so it's Bowmore.
okay.
They gotta, yeah, they're just gonna ignore some letters.
Bowmore. Okay.
Bowmore. And this is the 16-year-old. Uh, it's part of the sort of same collection we've been drinking our way through. It says it's 2003. So, right? Does you say that?
Yeah, I got 16 year old 2003. It's kind of a weird way to put it.
Yeah. So I think what it means is this was laid down in 2003 in a barrel.
Mhm.
It went for 16 years and then they bottled it.
So 2019 they bottled this and it's just been chilling. And yeah, so we got the Bowmore, 16-year-old 2003. And the best
More.
part,
I know it's really hard to break that habit, right?
it is,
The
man. You know, I got a bone to pick about the Scholomance too, which we'll bring up later. But yeah, yeah, the pronunciation is interesting, but I like the part at the end that it says the stories of wind and wave.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a subtext below that. I'm assuming that's the title of the whiskey, like the
This one is Bowmore. Bowmore is a classic Islay distillery. Um, there are two whiskeys in this set that they actually tell you where they're from and what they are. They've put their own twist on it by putting it into a barrel for a couple of years or something. Yeah, I've never had a Bowmore.
Mm.
I'm aware that they exist. I've just never had them. They're one of the oldest distilleries on Islay. But other than that, I don't actually know a ton about these guys.
Yeah, kind of same here. Like I've had them a couple times at tastings,
Mhm.
but you know, it wasn't like the Talisker Storm or the Lagavulin or anything. It didn't like catch me. It didn't get me. And you see the 12 year most often, I think. And I think that might be why there's that association with the lower end because yeah, it's like a whiskey you paid like $7 for at a restaurant when they're like, we have Scotch, and it's like a Bowmore 12.
Mhm.
$10 for a shot of kind of subpar. It's fine. It's 12-year single malt Scotch, but yeah, this one's kind of unique too. I mean, I'm looking at their website here, and I'm not seeing a 16-year-old. So I think this might be that thing where maybe they took the 15 or the 12 and they aged it in something else for a little while. It should be a pretty cool dram. Pretty unique. Like you said, a unique take on the original there. Well, shoot, you want to get into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Interesting aroma, like the nose right off the bat.
Yeah,
It's
well,
it's different.
yeah, let me
Ooh,
just start off by saying that this is a 55.2%
ooh, boy,
alcohol volume whiskey. So it's pretty strong.
that's a lot.
It is. I mean,
Yeah,
that's about a 10% almost bump.
and right away, it's very light color, like a light. Definitely no dyes in here.
It's quite pale, yeah.
Yeah, pale. Now, do you get? Man, I'm getting like a lot of. I don't know if it's clove right off the bat. It's got kind of a herb, like a herbiness to it.
I agree with clove.
It's really lovely.
Say clove and apples.
Yeah,
Getting some apples on this.
get the apple.
It's interesting how muted that peat is.
Yeah,
Very restrained on the peat.
yeah. On the nose, it's. In fact, I can't even smell it really anymore. I smell like right off the bat. You could smell it, and then it kind of gets put in the background.
Yeah, it's very subtle.
Okay, think apples like sautéed in butter.
I'm picking up a little nutmeg now, along with the clove.
Ooh, okay.
Um,
Mm.
it's almost like a Christmassy kind of apple pie, but like a cinnamonless apple pie.
Maybe like a clovey, but no cinnamon.
Yeah, like cloves, maybe a little nutmeg, maybe a
Yeah,
little allspice.
this is lovely.
Yeah, it's interesting. It
Mm.
doesn't smell like most of the
Mm.
Islay whiskeys that I'm sort of accustomed to. It has some smells that I associate more with like lowland
Mm-hmm.
scotches or like Irish whiskeys.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a bit different for Islay. It's out of place, not necessarily not in a bad way, but just it's a different kind of experience.
yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah, it kind of so for those of you who are like familiar with like pot still whiskey, there's like a roundness to the flavor that I'd associate with like Irish whiskey. And for this one, it's almost like a wetness too, like a there's a moisture to it when you breathe it in.
It's got quite a bright smell to it.
Oh boy.
All right.
Wow.
You get
Oh,
every bit of that 55%
yeah.
comes through in the glass on the sip.
Yeah,
Every bit of that
oh,
comes through.
yeah, we're both scrunching our faces.
Yeah. Woof.
Wow.
I've had a lot of cask strength whiskeys. It's something that I appreciate. I am generally pretty accustomed to your higher proof whiskeys, your 55% type stuff.
Mhm.
This is one of the like hottest, most alcohol like forward
Yeah.
scotches that I've had in a long time.
Dude,
That
same.
is,
It's aggressive.
it is.
It's even more than the last time. We had like got the spike shape. This
Yeah, yeah.
one, it was just
This one's a
flame.
hammer.
Yeah, just a huge like flaming
Or
hammer, right?
hammer. Yeah.
And dude, did you breathe out? If you breathe out over the soft palate too, I did. It was like just pure like alcohol over the soft
Yeah.
the
It's
soft
pure
palate.
alcohol.
Wow. And yeah, the cast strength stuff I got to be careful with. I enjoy it, but I think the last one I got was like a Jack Daniels cast strength, and it was very similar, almost undrinkable.
Let's give some notes. I do get some brine. There's a little bit of maltiness, but it's not sweet.
Mm.
It's not particularly sweet.
Mm.
I get some brine. I get more smoke on the palate, but it's still not aggressive. The smoke
Yeah,
isn't. Between the smoke and the brine that's there, it has a sort of maritime character. This to me
yeah,
is
definitely.
like what an like like sea captain, like salty sea dog kind of
Mm-hmm.
piratey kind of guy. This is what he would drink.
Has to put some hair on your chest. I think is
It
the
will.
old adage. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been taking very tiny sips, like little tiny
Mhm.
bites of it. Almost it helps. Yeah, you could probably use this as a good degreaser for your engine if you wanted to.
It's
Um,
yeah, I'm just trying to give him a fair shake. I know it's because of how like strong that alcohol flavor is. It would be hard to sit and sip and enjoy just as is.
yeah. I'm interested if it'll change. Remember, yeah, the last time, we've had a couple whiskeys that change as you go through your gram.
Oh man, it's still really hot. Like I've had a couple sips now.
Yeah, this one it's staying the same intensity.
Yeah, I'm starting to get that tire fire,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say not in a good way. Yeah, I this is honestly this is not my favorite that we've tried.
I'm adding water to mine.
Even with water, it's still harsh.
Yeah, even with water. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm having a hard time finding any flavor through the alcohol, and then yeah, it's like yeah, the burnt tire thing's kind of overwhelming.
You know, it's funny for something that smells like so pleasant.
Yeah, it's so
It
good.
really
Yeah,
just does not taste anything like it smells. All of that pleasant smell
Christmas morning and
vanishes. Yeah,
brown. Yeah,
Christmas morning. Yeah, holiday apple pie into tire fire.
yeah.
Hot burning tire fire in your mouth. Um, great smell. Uh, yeah, not amazing on the palate. It's not with the Ardbeg like Ugadal. Like that's a similar alcohol percentage. And I'm sitting there enjoying it and picking out notes, and it's smooth despite the high alcohol content, and it's all of these things. And then you get to this, and I'm just like, woof, like
Yeah.
burning, you know.
Yeah.
And to be clear, like neither just for the listeners, like neither Dustin or I are like new whiskey drinkers.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a bit.
And it is, you know, I think we both like our whiskeys usually anyway, like strong and flavorful. And so for us to have this reaction to this, you know, I think a lot of people would find this really unpleasant.
Yeah, agreed. Something popping out to me on the aftertaste. It kind of it reminds me of like almost like a bitter beer. Like remember you said on the nose you smelled some like barley kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get that, not in a sweet way, kind of in like I'm thinking like a porter. You know how porters kind of have a little bit of a
Yeah.
bitter barley
Mhm.
edge to them?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm tasting on this. Maybe that's what's
It's almost a
overwhelming.
metallic. I'm getting that it almost as like a metallic. And it's like,
Ooh.
have you ever had you know, single pot still like Irish whiskey?
Mhm. Yep.
And it's got this sort of metallic sort of tang to it. I'm getting that with this, which is funny because that is the flavor of unmalted barley.
Mm. Interesting.
And it's subtle and it's not like as strong as it is in Irish whiskey, but there's just a hint of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's what they did for the extra time. Yeah. They put it in a different barrel, used Irish whiskey barrels or something.
Yeah. Because they don't say for you know, just and you know, to reiterate this, in this set, they don't say what they did to different things.
Yeah.
It just they present it as is. They give you the name, they give you what it is. Maybe they'll give you something like it's Bowmore, like this one, but they're not going to give you a lot of details about like, oh, it was in sherry casks or it was in you know, bourbon or whatever, right? Um, so it's hard. We just kind of have to guess, right, what
Yeah.
they did to this whiskey.
It's just funny because that's why people drink whiskey. They want to know all the deets and be able to taste all the stuff. So
Yep.
yeah. Now, as we're talking, I'm not displeased with the finish. The finish to me is actually quite pleasant. For me, it's remember back in the day when you have like strep throat or something or be sick and you have like there's like a cough drop like Cepacol a little bit where it's like a medicinal cough droppy kind of thing. But imagine like a smoky cough drop. And that's kind of what I'm getting with this. Like my mouth feels coated. There's like a saline quality to my mouth now. And I think it might just be from all my taste buds being burned by the alcohol. That could be what's going on.
Oh man.
Down with the finish. It's got the maritime smoke.
I think if I had to say it's maritime, it's just much milder than some of the other maritime Islay heated whiskeys, right? You know, it seems like it has just a touch of sparkliness, effervescence.
I get that. I will say, if any of you are brave enough to try this one, the water has helped. It's much more enjoyable. It's still pretty overwhelming, and I think my taste buds they're just zonked at this point, but it's very pleasant mouthfeel at this point. It's like I imagine myself sitting in a winged chair in front of a fire. That's kind of the mouthfeel that it has. It's very pleasant. And that might be the vibe of this. This might be like a vibe whiskey. Maybe they're not going for those like specific hoity-toity flavors. Maybe they're going for like overwhelming, warm, just like smoke filled room kind of thing. Because I'm kind of digging it for that. But as far as the taste, I don't know. It's seems kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I will say this. That warmth might actually be nice if you were standing on a Scottish coast. Like you're like, or like you're on the North Sea, like looking out, and there's like a lighthouse, and it's like, 40 degrees.
Or you're a pirate
Like,
captain, yeah, do it,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you're
yeah.
or you're on a boat out in that, and it's like
Mhm.
40 degrees, and it's a gale, and the water's splashing over you from the sea, and
Yeah.
maybe you would be like, yeah, I need some Bowmore. Oh
So
man.
this might be the first vibe whiskey we've had. Maybe that's it. That's what the kids say these days. It's a vibe thing. It's a vibe whiskey. You got to be a pirate captain on the high seas and cold weather.
If I was gonna have a vibe whiskey, I would go for Lafroig.
Yeah, me too.
I do not recommend this. Just don't. I'm gonna finish this glass because it's here, but
Mhm. I would recommend this if you are employed on the high seas.
I don't think that I really want to do the card for this one.
I'm sure it's going
Although
to
it
be a
might be
wash.
funny because they'll be like, it smells of a spring day on I'll be like, the fuck.
Yeah, let's take a quick look here. Yeah.
Yeah. You go ahead and read it.
Okay, so for the nose, we have milky coffee. Maybe coffee. That was kind of the bittery kind of
Mm.
sea spray, leafy herbs. And Victoria sponge cake. Okay, so that's sweetness. I mean,
Victoria sponge cake? That's like a vanilla kind of like cake. I don't what no. I yeah.
I agree. Let's see. So for the palate, vanilla ice cream with salted caramel sauce, grilled fruit, and fresh barley. I don't know about fresh barley.
Yeah, I think fresh barley.
Yeah.
That's metallic. That's all those notes that I was attributing to the unmalted barley, right? That's fresh barley, right? Because do you know what malted barley is?
I mean, I know what it tastes like and how you use it.
Sure, but do you know what it is?
I mean, I know, but the listeners probably don't know. You should probably.
So, right, it's not just barley. Malting is just sprouted. So you say it's malted grain,
Mhm.
malted wheat. It could be malted like whatever it is just grain that has sprouted.
Hmm. Cool.
They say it has the flavor of fresh barley. Well, I agree.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
check that one off there.
yeah. Uh,
Nice.
I
Yeah,
don't know
well,
how they got that flavor in there with malted barley. Maybe it's just they malted it less. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, they did something funky because yeah, that shone through kind of for both of us. Then yeah, the finish is interesting. It's very short. It's a softly smoky with cut grass in the background.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't get any grass. Yeah. It was a weird
I
one
don't
for
know
me.
that I think grass was like this the note that I would have called it, but just thinking back to it, like yeah, I could see saying that. I don't know that that's totally accurate, but it's not.
Yeah. Fits the vibe,
I'm not going to argue
relaxing
with.
after a hard day. Yeah, whoever they got to do these, I respect their palate. I'm sure they got some awesome stuff in there, but yeah, we've already established this stuff. Definitely a different set of taste buds.
Yeah. I do wish that at some point when they're doing these things, they would just be like, it burns.
Yes. yes,
It's fire in my mouth.
yes, like Satan's asshole. Yeah, we need to get some good tasting notes.
Oh man.
That'll be the next career for us. Um, well, cool. That was interesting.
That was definitely interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
I do not recommend it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, don't go this route.
Well, let's turn now to our book. The book we're going to be discussing tonight. It is called The Last Graduate and it is by Naomi Novik. It is the second book in her Scholomance series. We did the previous book a couple weeks back, but it's like almost a month ago.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Yeah, it's been a while.
This book is cool. You start getting into some lore, some background. They expand on the characters, like all the stuff you want in a sequel. But like the title says, The Last Graduate. So yeah, I actually the first off thing off the bat I wanted to report in, Gus, is that shortly after our last podcast, if you remember, I was kind of meh. I was not finished with the first book.
Yeah, you're getting into it, but
Let's get into it.
you hadn't like really gotten it yet. So
Yeah. And basically right after we spoke, I had a week where I could just read, and I
yeah,
completely fell into the deep end and didn't stop until I was finished.
good.
And
That's how it should be. It's one of those books we were talking about last time. It's one of those series that like gets its hooks in, and then when it does, you just like you can't put it down.
yeah, you can. And I was wondering what, because I was trying to. I had a listener actually talk to me about like kind of asking, what people could look for in this book, like if they were interested in this book, like what would this book give them? And I was kind of curious. I have a couple of things for me. Like I was thinking Harry Potter meets Lovecraft meets like not quite teen angst, because it's definitely not like a teen book, but there's like a romance story.
Hmm.
Like it's got that, but that was something that impressed me about this book, and then I wanted to encourage new readers who haven't read these series. It's a whole mix and hodgepodge of genres, and it's very accessible. But yeah, what kind of assessment do you have on that? Like, what's your genre spread there?
Yeah, I mean, what could you look for in this book? It's a really cool take on, I would say, wizards in general, like how the magic works, and it's like a soft magic system. It's got a really cool voice, like the character's voice is amazing. Naomi Novik does a really amazing job, making her distinct. She's got a she's a really, really interesting main character, popular right now to like mess with tropes or break tropes, but like it's a very sort of almost anti-stereotype kind of book and kind of character. Like she's the main character, she's the protagonist, she's a good wizard or good sorceress or whatever, but like everybody thinks she's sort of awful and the bad guy. And she's like,
Yeah.
she's been told that she's going to end the world, basically. She's been told she's going to destroy the world. And she has to live with that. She's been like even cast out by her sort of extended family.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She has to live with that. And the whole book, the whole series, and I think especially in this second book, she's like trying not to fall into that trap, not to fall into being this awful, this horrible, like world ending
Yeah.
wizard, right? She's like lashing out against it, lashing
Yeah.
out against this thing that she thinks is her sort of birthright or this sort of, she's the chosen one in an evil way, right?
Yeah. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say like part of the magic system that's so cool about this, like that soft magic, is there's a lot of will and like intention in it. And I love series that do this, because you can kind of go any direction you want. There's a really great book where they had people who believed in math could do math magics,
Mm-hmm.
because it was belief, it was intention, there was an energy created by that. So this book kind of plays around with that. But the Scholomance, as you learn in book one, kind of has a character too, and there's a purpose to it. There's intention in it, and so it keeps feeding Elle these spells of mass destruction. Basically, it's like, here, please use them. This is your bag of, this is
Yeah.
what you need. And yeah, it's so great because the whole time she's so conflicted about it, because she doesn't want that. She's not that, but everybody's painted her in that corner, and
Yeah. Including the school, right?
yeah, yeah, including the school.
School itself is like, you are a dark wizard. Here is a spell to end the world. And she can cast those spells
Yeah.
almost without thinking about it. Like to anybody else, it's like the hardest spell in the world to cast. They can't do it. And she just flippantly can just, spell dead.
Mm.
But she doesn't want to. It's sort of this interesting thing where she's like almost like a Mary Sue in that way.
Yeah.
But she's like, hates it. She's like been given this ultimate power and she's like, no, fuck you. I don't want this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. And Yeah, for me, it reminded me a little bit of like Murderbot Diaries and stuff. That's like it's a good sci-fi trope, like the killer robot who doesn't want to kill and who
Yeah.
protects it, but everybody thinks it's a killer robot. And I know for me, when I was reading it, it hits a spot where you when you're growing up, this is what I really liked about it. When you're growing up, you don't know what kind of adult you're going to be. You don't know who you're going to be. And I always felt a worry like, am I going to be a good person? I think I'm going to be a good person. But, you get fed all these things like maybe you had a relative who was kind of a jerk or something. Oh, is it like did the apple fall far from the tree type thing? Like, do I have a proclivity to be a jerk? And for L, it's more than that. It's like, am I going to destroy the world and kill everybody and be the downfall of all of wizarding and this and that? And it's pretty compelling, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what hooked me. Is yeah, the Mary Sue stuff started off a little bit. I think the author does a good job balancing that. Um, and if you're considering reading this, I would suggest that Naomi is very um, adept at balancing her characters out, um, giving there's flaws even with the strengths, and those are revealed throughout the books, and it's at a good pace. Yeah, I think that is my general impression so far. That's kind of where I've like developed to. As far as this book, how into the weeds you want to get, Gus? Want to do some spoiler stuff now, or
Yeah, I think we'll do a little bit of spoilery stuff now.
yeah? Okay, so if you don't want to hear the spoilers,
Yeah, for me, this book was really cool because of where she went, kind of with the school itself,
mm,
and the school having this sort of built-in purpose and being kind of semi-sentiently trying to go out of its way to fulfill its purpose. But it's basically the school was like built with like the purpose to like what was it, protect all the like wise gifted children of the world or whatever.
I was thinking the same thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the school is able kind of to like understand that like the situation is not tenable, right? The situation is like not okay. That it is failing in that duty, right? Like it knows it's supposed to protect the kids, and yet at the end of every school year, there's the kids, the senior graduate students are thrown basically to the wolves that are the mals, the various awful
Yeah.
magical
What, like
creatures.
2/3 of them don't make it or something like that?
Yeah, like every year, like 2/3 of them don't make it.
And there was one year where none of them made it.
Yeah. And so the school, like understanding that, but not being able to just tell her, but it can like do things. It can kind of reshape itself. It can make things happen to kind of hint at solutions. And so
Yeah.
this whole book, there's these weird things that are happening, and they're having to like kind of piece together what the school is trying to tell her. And, they ultimately have to like band together across national boundaries because people from all over the world are the school. So they having to cross national boundaries, having to cross sort of tribal boundaries amongst the you know the enclave students and the non-enclave students, and it's a ride. This book is a ride. It's
Yeah.
yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, the ride was real. And it was the part was kind of I guess it's kind of a drawback for me, kind of a little bit of a negative part. One of the tropes that I don't like in a lot of books is the kids know better than adults trope. And you
Mm-hmm.
see it in a lot of YA and stuff. And this was interesting. I thought the author did a good job of explaining it out. And especially in that third book, you were right about that one. Like basically the second half of the third book ties up everything in a really
Yeah.
satisfying way. Um, but for this one, there was just enough mystery, like because you have this mystery of the school, and it gives the book to Elle, and it's this book on how to make her own. It's called a golden. What are those called?
Enclave.
Yeah, golden enclave. and Elle gets this, and then she kind of discover there's like these little hints that she puts in your way. And sorry, I am getting to a point. So the trope of the kids knowing more was interesting because they have this library in there, and they can provide the books to the people. And during this whole event with getting the book and being ambushed and having all this political stuff going on, Elle fights, or does, I don't know if fight's a good word, but she gets sucked in by a Mawmouth. And it's right at the tail end of that fight. It's kind of a major spoiler, but something happens at the tail end that kind of trips you off a little bit. And what I liked about that was I felt like I feel like this author had it so the characters earned their knowledge over the adults. Like Elle noticed something as the only person to really go inside of a Mawmouth and destroy it, which that's the spoiler. Yeah, we yeah, well, we'll just leave it in or take it out. But as the only person, like she notices something that changes the game and it
Mhm.
changes everything. And I really appreciated that. Because I felt like that a little bit, and there were a couple moments where I'm like, come on, are you serious? Like the whole wizarding world, none of these adults can figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
Is it really up to these kids who know nothing? Yeah, it makes sense. She balanced it. She made it make sense. But yeah, that was kind of the ride for me a little bit because I was kind of waiting for the trope to hit. It's kind of like the first book. You're waiting for the Mary Sue to happen and it doesn't. And then it's balanced.
Mhm.
But that was what was enjoyable about this book for me. It exceeded my expectations for it.
Yeah. He's just playing around with tropes
Yeah,
and then and then like dangling them,
yeah, yeah,
dangling a trope and then doing a little switcheroo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I did want to talk to you about the Mawmouths because I didn't lose sleep over them, but I was it was a very compelling thing. It was like body horror. Um, it was just a huge mystery. Like there's something going on with those, and but you don't know what, and you have no idea what basically until like I had all these ideas, and I remember I kind of tinfoil hatted them with you. Then it
Mhm.
turned out to not be, you
Yeah.
kind of the reveal later was like what, but
Yeah. It's like mind blown.
yeah, yes, this real satisfying book with that. And so when we got to the end, just like the first book, pretty good cliffhanger. You're not
Mhm.
really sure what happens. Um, what did you think about the ending when you first read it? Because I was stunned. I was really pissed off too because the third book wasn't available at the library right away. I
Okay.
had to wait.
That
I
would
said,
have been
no.
yeah. Man, so the end of the second book, spoilers, is that so basically like there's this huge twist. There's actually several twists. There's a twist that happens earlier in the book where basically their goal in the last book was kind of to like kill all of the males that are guarding the entrance at the end of the first book. And they basically do it. And in
Mhm.
fact, they're way too successful at it. I know it would be like, how can you be too successful at it? But basically, they've made like the Mawmouths hungrier by depriving them of smaller mouths to feed on, and so they realize that while they might have saved their class, they might have saved their class of seniors, and maybe even the next class. As time goes by, there's going to be like a rebound effect where
Mhm.
like mouths are always coming in from the outside, but basically they screwed over the classes behind them.
Yeah, and the Orion affected that too. Orion killed too many of them, so they didn't
Yeah,
feed.
Orion killed too many. They were too successful there at when they were clearing it all out with their and so the result is they were too good at their job in the first book, leaving them with a situation where if they just leave everybody behind in the school, um, everybody's going to be everybody else that gets is going to be toast. They're just everybody's going to die, or a huge percentage of them are. Nobody like you're going to have a bunch of classes where nobody's getting out, and so they basically decide, screw it. we're all getting out and we're closing the door behind us. And they discover this like halfway through the book. And I thought that that twist and their solution to it, and then the solution, which is, okay, we'll pull all the mouths into the school uh, before we shut it, was actually really clever.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool like sequence of sort of realizations that, like you said, with the Mawmouths and all this sort of knowledge was earned. Like it didn't just like
Yeah.
it didn't just happen, right? There's a whole book describing all of this and why they do this and why they go this route and everything. And it's, man, I thought the ending was really good. And then of course there is a twist after, at the very end.
Yeah.
There's a twist and a cliffhanger so that you buy the next one. And I'll tell you, it fucking worked on me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, next book now, go, go, go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty masterful on her part. Like it was
You care about the characters.
yeah.
They're really well written. She's really well written. You care about what she cares about. And, you care about what Elle cares about. And Elle very much cares about the cliffhanger, right? So you care, and so you have to know, and then it just ends, and it's one of those things where like the cliffhanger happens and the book is over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's over. Dude, and that's another part of this book that really got me, man. This book made me feel. It made me feel feelings, Gus. I think that was what was so great about the ending, though. It was satisfying on an emotional level too, because Naomi Novik spent the time developing the characters to the point where, yeah, like you said, you care about what happens, but you care about it because you really know like a part of her soul. Like she really just get some background that I don't know, it's like when you think about like a parent who's had a hard life or something like that. You just want to call them up and give them a hug or something. It's just this feeling of like, God, it's just this person. And then, Orion, the twist involves Orion. And you feel for him too, because he's kind of a tragic character. And he's set up very well. The will they or won't they was set up pretty well too. They had a couple of nice little like romantic scenes with Mal guts spilling on top of them, and of course they were like, oh yes, it's time.
Yeah, man, there's some really good side characters in this. It's not just Orion and Elle. It's not just these two characters. There are a lot of really good side characters. She has this little like group of friends that are helping solve all this.
Yeah.
And there are other characters that are enclave kids.
Yeah.
Some of whom are like real jerks, and it takes a lot, right, to kind of bring them around to the plan that they have, because they benefit by, in a sense, they're all these enclave kids are benefiting from all of these deaths, right? And so it's like, and they want to get out safely, and this plan is dangerous, this plan is risky, but ultimately they see the benefit of it. And yeah, it's a really interesting journey, the whole journey to get, because basically everybody has to be on board with it for them to be able to go through with it. Yeah, it's a really cool sort of journey that the characters go on. And it's all confined to the school. No big epic journeys across the world in this book. It's still all in the school.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all there. I think I particularly liked Liesel. Is that her name? Liesel? The German lady.
Yeah.
I liked her. I have a few Germans in my life, and it was fun seeing like an efficient, no nonsense German gal getting everybody organized and doing some stuff. And yeah, there's a really lovely scene too with one of the friends there. I mean, with both of the friends, like the friendships Elle makes are like real genuine friendships where you get some background, and there's a lot of like with everybody in the wizarding world, there's trauma in all their backgrounds, because wizard kids are hunted from the moment they are able to have any magic in them. Most of them die, which is why they go to the Scholomance. Chance to not die. But But yeah, I do. And you mentioned the like power, class, privilege kind of elements of this book that I thought
Mhm.
were very well written. It's like a good primer for what privilege is, basically, if you're confused
Yeah.
about what it
You're
is.
still confused about what your privileges
Yeah.
are. Read this book.
Yeah, just read this book. You'll understand. But yeah, man, it's great. I can't wait to talk about the third one too. I think the third one, oh, I mean, even if it's a spoiler show, it's like stuff I don't want the readers to know until you read it because it's so
Yeah.
good.
So
Yeah.
go read the first book, go read the second book. And when you do that, you're not going to be able to help but read the third book. So
Mhm.
then when we finally get around to doing the third book as an episode, you'll already know the spoilers won't be a problem.
Yep. We'll just talk about
Yeah,
it. So,
exactly.
yeah. I think that should be the plan for the third one. We'll just go hog wild.
Going to be a spoiler
Spoiler,
episode. Yeah,
spoiler shit.
even more spoilery.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, looking
Uh,
forward to that. I feel like, it's funny. Like I want to give this book it's like full due, it's full like discussion that it deserves. But at the
mhm.
same time, I'm like, man, I part of me is like, it feels like a chore, not because I didn't like it, but because I really want to talk about the third fucking book.
I know. Yeah. That's the show. Go read it. That's it.
Yeah. Go read the second book.
Go read it.
Talk about the third book. Man, yeah, this was a pretty cool book. It continues the series excellently. It sets up that third book perfectly. Um, that cliffhanger is brutal. I gotta say, if I had read this book before the third one was out, because I read these first two books
Yeah.
shortly after that third book came out. If I had to wait, I would have been that would have been hard.
Yeah. I would have been pissed. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's perfectly done. That's if I had to have any superpower for this author, that's probably what I would get her. She something that's special about her that I don't get with most other authors. She has like just the timing down. Like she'll nail some stuff. Just beautiful. The way she writes portrays emotion and like a depth to these characters that just it goes right through, like right into the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the cliffhangers like that. It's like a perfect cliffhanger. It's such a joy to read. It's a rare treat. Because I think both of us were old enough and we've read enough stuff where we really appreciate the process of writing.
Yeah.
And we're like, what are they going for? What are they doing? And she just does it so effortlessly with portraying emotion. And it's good stuff. What my Katie read through them all. She's moved on to a couple of her other books, and she has a few other series. She's got some cool like Icelandic fairy tale kind of
Yeah.
adaptations.
Yeah. I have not read that stuff, but I could say the Temporary series is pretty good. I haven't
Mm,
read all of it by any means, but
mm,
I enjoyed what I've read of that series has been enjoyable, entertaining.
cool.
Yeah, I think she's a great writer of you know human beings, right? Great writer of
Yeah.
these sort of very characters you feel for very strongly. Um,
Yes.
emotions, right? Um,
Good
yeah,
horror writer too, man. The Mawmouth was something special that got me a little
say
bit.
all the Mals. I mean, the first book, like
Yeah.
each chapter is named after a type of Mal.
Yeah.
In that first book, those Mals are very creative. They're very interesting. They're not sort of stereotypical. They're not even sort of stereotypical cosmic horror. Um, they're very. I don't know quite. I don't know if unique is quite accurate, but they're very fairly original for that kind of like monster. Um, yeah, I thought the Mals were great for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. So, which is a skill, creature creation, without it being lame or anything,
Yeah,
or derivative or copying. Like, oh, okay, these are orcs. Like, how many times have you seen a different iteration of orc
yeah,
in a show? Yeah, this was not that. This was unique, and yeah, the Monmouth was so good for me because it just just hit like Stephen King levels of just creepiness, where it's like something you hadn't really considered before, like a terrible thing that you hadn't considered. You're like, oh God, that would be
Yeah.
awful. This is an awful thing. Ugh. So yeah, so great. I lost a lot of sleep over it because I read it late into the night. So I'm kind of glad I'm done. Um, so yeah, readers, you should go lose some sleep over it too. It's worth it. It's a good book.
Yep.
Two thumbs,
Yeah.
the thumbs of
Definitely.
approval. Yeah,
Absolutely recommend this book. Yeah, you should go read it.
yeah. Shoot,
And you should
Dustin.
go read the whole series because
Yeah.
you're gonna want to after you get, you know, after you get done with the first book, you're gonna be like, oh, I gotta read the second one. And then you get to the end of the second one, you're gonna be like, oh my God. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So good. Well, man, does that feel like we're winding it down? You feel complete with?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, cool. Feel like we got
Yeah.
most of it out. Yeah, go read the third. It's the main bullet point.
Yep.
Um, yeah, man, it's nice chat with you about it. And listeners, I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Thank you all for listening. And I hope you all have a good night.
Me too.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do stay gold.
I don't
Oh,
know.
you're like, you just like lean into the mic and then you just lean back. You don't say anything.
It's gotta come out naturally, you know. I don't know if I should force it, you know. I don't know. It's a problem I have. I don't know how to end things.
No, I agree. I have the same problem. I think that's why we're like, why
Yeah.
we have these endings where we're like, you know, it's like, I don't know
Yes.
how to end it. I don't know what to do with my hands. I
See,
don't, you know.
see, we need like a German lady to be like, "And how you done? Kaput. Go home. Sleep. Spend time with your family."